Welcome to the May meeting of the Brooklyn Solid Waste Advisory Board. Thanks everyone for coming virtually. We're very excited. Welcome, Oliver. We're so happy to have you from across the pond. So everyone, you can put your information in the chat, what brings you to the meeting, your name, and now we'll all be doing it. We won't be, let me just put my name. Everyone put your name in the chat. You can just say what brings you to this. If you're not a member of the SWAB, if you're SWAB curious, we'd love to have you join. It's a fun group, and we're doing some really fun things and important, exciting things. And we'll see in just a minute what Jason's going to be doing. We had a question from a newer member about the vote this past week. First of all, thanks everyone. I hope you don't have voting fatigue, but thanks for voting on everything. But a question about voting, about the state Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act and the Bigger, Better Bottle Bill, which is an expansion of a current law that's in place, which is a proposal to expand it. So does anybody, first of all, want to start with a specific question, or does anybody want to just give a quick overview? Maybe Debbie wants to give an overview, because I bet you've got it all on the tip of your tongue.
Are you talking about the EPR bill?
Yes, and also the bottle bill.
Well, I think I've read them recently, but I don't understand how we got whittled down to a 30% reduction on the EPR side. That, is it last year, what was the percentage? Can you tell me that, Rhonda?
Last year, I believe, if anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 50%.
Okay.
It's a phase in.
Yeah,
It's going to phase in over time, Debbie. So it will end up at 50%. They just reduced it to 30 because I think it was like by 2030. And it's like, as we get closer and closer to 2030, it seems kind of unrealistic that we can expect the same number. I assume that's why they changed it.
that's
Okay.
a great answer.
And the better bottle bill, it would be amazing because beer, wine, liquor, so many beverages aren't included, and then the rate will go up to 10 cents, but then the canners will get 0.5 cents, right, out of the 10?
Yeah, I think so. And then also the handling fee will go up. And if anybody watched the testimony in Albany for the bottle bill, there was someone who ran a redemption center upstate, and she made the really good point that they have to, she's a business. She's not a nonprofit like Sure We Can is here in Brooklyn, but so she has to, operate off of the profits that she makes from what she's doing. And the rates are not market controlled; they are controlled by the laws. So without allowing for cost of living increases, et cetera, it's really hard for her to survive. I haven't checked back in with her to see like how if anybody's closed down because of this, or if they were able to get some kind of short-term relief. That would be interesting to know. Any other questions or we can have, I feel like it would be good to have more policy briefs and policy discussions in the future, so that we could really speak about it. I know we've spoken about this in the past. I just want to leave it open if anybody has any questions. Let's see, I'm not looking in the chat also. Okay.
Rhonda,
So basically,
oh, go ahead, Marianne.
yeah, sure. So basically, just real quick, they're increasing the deposit to 10 cents.
And is do they have projections as to how much they think recycling participation or yields are going to increase as a result of this?
Um, um, no, but in the testimony that was able to deliver on behalf of the SWABs based on our work that we did, our comments on the swamp, it does the capture rate for materials covered by the bottle bill is much higher than the capture rate for other recyclables. So there is incentive it does provide incentive to actually turn it in. As long as this is something I often say, but in order to recover things out of the waste stream that as resources, those resources have to have value and people have to have access to that value. And when you do that, the bottle bill is a perfect example of that. No one's doing it. People are not necessarily doing it to be virtuous. I mean, some people might be, but a lot of people at every strata always wants to know what's in it for them. So, anything else? Let's see. I think the notable thing about the Packaging Reduction Recycling Infrastructure Act is that it suggests a ban on, it was 13 chemicals, and now I think it's up to 17 chemicals that go into, that are known toxics, that go into making plastic. And those are really, really helpful chemicals. In other words, they make the plastic not brittle, or they make it soft and pliable. Whatever the characteristics that they need, they give it a color, or they make it smooth, or they make it bumpy. Whatever it is, those same chemicals are added to bioplastics to do the same things. And so that is one way to actually name those chemicals, those toxics, so that we're not trading one problem for another, to switch over to bioplastics as a solution. Because if those toxics are used, then it's the same kind of danger, presents the same hazards to people. Okay. Anything else? Does everybody have the agenda? Should I put that into the chat?
Rhonda, it's Kendall. What can you tell us about the political status in the legislature of both bills?
I am not watching that, I have to say. We are, as advisors of policy, we are simply putting forth our position. I don't know if anybody else knows the political stature, or if you have any updates yourself, Kendall?
I don't. I'm looking for thought maybe you were going to lead with that tonight.
Oh,
I have a spreadsheet. Let me try to find it and see if I can paste the link with all that data that there.
Yeah, I think that's a Beyond Plastics thing. That I don't have access to that. Debbie, and maybe you just want to.
They might, I think if I share it, maybe you guys can look at it. It's just view access. So let me look and see.
So, okay, so while we're doing this, why don't we get Jason to go ahead and start sharing?
Sure, happy to.
Excellent, thank you. So Jason, as he's getting this ready, or do you want to why don't you introduce it, Jason?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've got a few slides that I'll go through. I'm assuming my screen can be seen.
Yes.
Excellent. So I've been a member of the SWAB for just a few months now, relatively new to the workings of all of this, but have worked at a number of climate technology companies for the last few years and generally have a predilection towards data and specifically data visualization. So over the last few weeks in particular, I have been working with the Manhattan team, Manhattan SWAB, specifically William Klimpert, to put together some new data visualization tools based on the DSNY data sets for waste collection and organics collection. So today I want to dive through some of that, go through sources and how it's being built, and then share what the tool actually looks like. I'll start, I guess, with just like disclaimer. One, again, collaborative effort, not just me, even though I'm the face of it tonight, working very closely with the Manhattan team. Two, this is very much a work in progress. So if folks do have comments, questions, it's not been distributed widely at all yet. It's very internal. So this is something that we can iterate on. And then finally, I'm by no means an expert on methodologies here and how we ought to calculate things. William and I have been working on how we are calculating things. So very amenable to, again, expertise from the group here on what we can add, what we can adjust, and how we can make this the most useful tool that it can be. So there's a few things we'll go through. As I mentioned, a little bit of the context here, the sources we're pulling from. I'm going to define some of the key metrics, and then we'll look at the tool itself. And I pulled out a few insights just from the last few months of data to kind of extrapolate how this tool can be helpful going forward. I'll start with a quote which I love, which I'm sure many people are familiar with, right? Peter Drucker famously said that if you can measure something, you can get it managed. I think the same is very much true for our waste data here in the city. There's a few things that I've noticed about the DSNY monthly tonnage data set. It's very great. It's awesome that the city of New York publishes this data openly online, but unfortunately, it's not easy to access in that it requires some analytic skills to actually understand the data set that is posted every month. It's hard to view trends for that reason. There's no visual component unless you build it yourself within the Open Data Suite. And then finally, it's, again, hard to kind of slice and filter that data. If you want to look at boroughs or community districts, any sort of breakdown, you would require that analytics expertise. So the goal of this dashboard, this new tracker, is to do all of that for us and provide a recurring kind of format for us to view those trends without having to start from scratch every month. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to give a little bit of a preview now so people have it in their heads, but I'm going to back up and give a little bit more context, and then we'll actually play around with this live together. So there's 3 different data sets that are pulled into this dashboard. 2 of them are static and one is the live feed. First is demographic information comes from DSNY's hosted ACS, the American Community Survey, information that the most recent survey that they have on their site. Any information related to population, so example being separated organics pounds per household or per resident, is all based on the numbers, the demographic information from this survey set. The second data source is the actual monthly tonnage information from DSNY. This is a live data set. It is updated what appears to be the 8th of every month. So the dashboard that we'll play around with in a little bit here, you'll see is updated through March because the April data has not been posted. It should be by the end of this month. The final piece to this is the waste characterization study. This is used for some assumptions regarding total capacity for organics and what our expectations might be in terms of what is compostable. And this pulls into some of the calculations that we're doing as well. So with that in mind, I'm going to dive into just defining some of the terms that are in the dashboard. And again, there might be questions or thoughts on how we could calculate this differently. Very open to taking that in and seeing how we can adjust this going forward or creating different versions of the tool. But first is this concept of aggregate waste. This is all tons that are collected from the city. So from that DSNY data set, metal, glass, plastic, paper, refuse, and then the actual separated tons. We have the separated organics, which is a subset of that tonnage, and which includes residential, school, and then their leaves and Christmas tree demarcations as well. This can be, as I was explaining earlier, broken down into pounds per person and then pounds per household, which we do in the tool. Next is compostable tons. So this is taking the aggregate waste, so that total amount of actual waste every month, and it's multiplying it by the assumed organics percentage of waste, which is pulled from that waste characterization study. So this is giving us a capacity essentially, or what the denominator may be of all potential compostable tons for each community district, and on a recurring basis for every month we look at that. And then finally, and probably most relevant, is the capture rate. The way that we're calculating this in the tool is taking the actual separated organics, so the second value on the slide here, and then dividing by that compostable ton, so the actual amount that is captured from the presumed total based on the characterization study. Any questions so far?
Jason,
Okay.
two things. It's Kendall. Any allowance for contamination in the data, or will you touch on that? And secondly, one of the main differences with organic waste, particularly food waste as composed to leachman yard waste, is that it's mostly water. Food waste is 70% water on average. So I'm curious about any sort of understanding or allowance for that factor as well when calculating tonnage.
Yeah, and contamination, do you mean physical contamination or contamination of the data?
Physical contamination.
Yeah,
10,
okay.
20%, 5%, 20%, whatever the understood, set of metric is for what's collected but not compostable.
Yeah, right now we're not applying any sort of like multipliers to account for contamination. I think that's something that we could look for in the future. I'm not sure the depth of what the waste characterization study goes into, if that is kind of presented within the percentages that they give. But if not, definitely would be interested in adding something like that.
For example, Toronto typically reports contamination in the 20 to 25% range for
Okay.
its organic fraction.
Okay. Yeah, we should look at like what kind of assumptions make sense to bring in for something like that. And then similarly, I don't have any, further breakdowns right now broken out for the actual separated organics categories. That is something that we want to look at in the future, of breaking it down in those 4 categories, and then we can better get a sense of what percentage is leaves and Christmas trees versus food, so that we can look at more of what you were getting to in your second point. Cool. So I'm going to point out now a few features of this tool, and then we're going to click in and start playing around with it. So first, when I bring up the tool, and following this meeting, we're hoping to share out a preliminary version of this that folks will be able to play around with on their own as well. But one thing that we've added on the top right, all of the data can be toggled by borough, by community district, and then by date range. I'll show what that looks like. Second here, the main kind of bulk of the dashboard is consumed with this monthly trend view. We can change again that timeline, but right now it's showing monthly tons collected, and then on top of that, an overlay of the capture rate. And then the other big component of this on the right is an actual map, which shows a community district comparison. So for any borough selected, we can see the ranking of community district by capture rate, and then a map which shows kind of a heat-based view of the same. So what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to try to switch sharing my screen to the actual dashboard. Let's see if this works. Sometimes Zoom is finicky with full screen mode. I think we're good. I just get a thumbs up that we can see a full screen. Awesome. Cool. So same image that I just showed, I'll just play around with it live so that we can get a sense of it. I'm going to go ahead and just select Brooklyn, and you'll see we get some updated numbers here. Let's select maybe Bed-Stuy, Community District 3. So now we can see on the left here these numbers updated with the live view of BK3 for June of last year through March. We can show here, let's do like the last 6 months. If we just wanted to zoom into that, that'll update the information as well. It's calculating 6 months, including April and the current month, May, which is why it's only showing 4, which is a change that we'll be working to make. But you can see how that all adjusts in here. And then the view on the right here kind of stays static by borough. So you can see that ranking of all the community districts. So if I go back here, We can change to another community district or another borough rather, Queens, similar information, but just for that borough. It switches back to the last 12. And then the last thing I'll point out is we have added so that when this is published, it's kind of easy to backtrack and for folks to look at. We've added definitions of all the terms that are in here, as well as the links to the sources, so folks can easily access that. Now that it's just shown, I'm going to quickly just go back to the slides and share a few insights that I think are made possible by this, and then I'll open it up fully to questions, and we can kind of explore this a little bit more together. Bear with me. Great. Okay, so I took a look earlier today when we finished putting this together. This is totally illustrative, although it is pulling from actual numbers here, but I think it gives a sense of initially what we can start to do with a tool like this, and then hopefully expand upon in the future. So first, just looking at Brooklyn, BK6, Park Slope Carroll Gardens has a meaningfully higher capture rate than any other borough I just looked at for the last 12-month period. They're at 14.4% versus the next higher being Community District 10, which is just over 10%. I don't know the reason for that. Maybe it's socioeconomic. That's kind of my leading guess, but maybe there's building type considerations. There could be any number of things that are potentially influencing this. And I think those are important things for us to think about as we advise the city on, or the borough rather, on educating and helping inform these policies going forward. So that's one potential insight from this. Another is we can see if we look at year over year, so March 24 through March 25, there does seem to be an increase. Obviously, there's a seasonality swing here for leaf collection and Christmas trees as well. But March 25 compared to March 24, we're almost at 2% improvement in capture rate. Could be because of all the policies that have been rolled out, mandated separation, the initial enforcement that took place. Again, insights that are probably useful for us to be looking at as new policies are brought to bear and education continues on this. And then the third thing that I was looking at is just how Brooklyn kind of ranks against other boroughs based on this data. Brooklyn is kind of right smack in the middle. The citywide average is 6.49%. I just did this for a year to date, so 2025 so far. Citywide average is 6.5%. Brooklyn is just under 6%. Staten Island is leading with over 8% and Queens at about 7.5%. I should also note, like, as we dig into this data, William and I are very interested in actual, not physical contamination, but potential like lack of cleanliness in the data itself that might prompt some questions back to DSNY. If there's any outliers or information that we don't understand of, for example, why a community district might be so high, is that data actually accurate? So those are the types of things that I think as more folks get to touch this tool and keep an eye on it, we can start to question and better understand. But I think all these types of trends are the types of things that we should be looking at and hopefully allowing the public to dissect themselves. So what we're planning to do forward with this, again, after this kind of initial phase of folks touching it, playing around with it, asking a lot of good questions, we're hoping to distribute this in some fashion, likely hosted, embedded on a website for this group and the public more widely to take a look at. I'm not aware of any other visuals that are based on this data set that the city is sharing themselves. We've also discussed potentially creating community district specific reports that are automated from this tool, perhaps on a monthly basis, that can be sent out to representatives, that can be sent out to this group, other SWABs, et cetera, to get a better sense of how they're performing. Two, we want to actually expand analysis. So Kendall, what you mentioned in terms of, or what I took away from one of the things that you mentioned in terms of coding the different categories of organics separated, I think is one useful thing. Adding recyclable capture rates is another piece that we can do. Breaking out school organics we've talked about in the outreach committee as well, are all things that can be made possible from this data set. And then finally, bringing in additional data sets. With the Manhattan group, we've talked about adding in data on where garbage is sent. I think Ezra is on the call as well and is taking a big stab at that, but bringing in additional data sets that we can add additional pages for to kind of create a one-stop shop for some of this information. So that's the future plan. Again, very open to ideas. This is iterative. This is a work in progress. I see lots of hands up. I will try to answer questions as best as I can. But thank you. Yeah, looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Ah, thank you so much. This is so exciting. I only wish Pablo could see this because I'm sure he would be he would be walking straight up to the screen and looking at it really closely. So I see Mary's hand went up first, and then Uli, and then Ollie after that. Mary, go ahead.
Thanks, Rhonda. Jason, I was wondering, like, what's considered for like community composting and like drop-offs? So like it doesn't get collected through traditional waste streams. Like, how can you collect that data for like the in-person drop-offs for like small community gardens, not like brown bin?
Yeah, really good question. My understanding is that's not through DSNY. Is that correct, or is it?
Correct.
Oh, sorry.
It's not through DSNY, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd be interested if there is any public data available on that we could bring into this, but we might come up short if it's not actually available.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I mean,
Okay.
that's part of the challenge here, right? Is like we're dealing with separate streams and different data sets across the board. So
Right. That they are reporting it. Some of the folks that got funded by DSNY or by the city council are reporting that, but I'm not sure where that's going to land or if it's going to land on open data somewhere. But that would be good to look into. Uli.
I wonder if they're reporting it site by site, though. I bet it's aggregate by the
Well,
different,
each site is reporting it themselves.
like location by location.
Well, no, I'm sorry. The ones who were funded by the city council, the composting network, the New York City.
Yeah.
Network.
Are they reporting for every site that they manage? Or just aggregate for that particular organization?
Well, there
We
are
can answer that later,
many
though.
sites. Yeah, we can. That's a good question, but let's look into that. Okay, so you wanted to ask a question.
I have another question, which is that I believe the waste characterization study gives these percentages like across all the sites they sampled, right? So this is for the whole city and not borough by borough.
it changes based on borough. So
Oh, they have an estimate for each borough?
I believe they did, but I can go back and check.
Okay, because if it is one
hope-
for the whole city, then you always have Staten Island looking higher because they should have a bigger share of their waste is compost because of the yard waste that they would have.
If I remember correctly, every community district has a different like category of waste characterization, and there are some that share the same category, but that spits out basically percentages for each of the streams, and then I mean based on any number of factors. So there's certain that have kind of the shared percentages, but it's based on socioeconomic factors and other factors in there. But there's a few different percentages that are used.
Interesting. Okay, thanks.
Awesome, thanks. Ollie.
Hiya. First of all, thanks. This is a really brilliant tool, and it looks great. So great work, and thank you. I was partly gonna make a comment but Uli kind of made it, which is about the sort of denominator, the organics fraction, maybe being a bit generic, sort of to allow really fair comparison between different locations, but also probably different times of year. Like the organics fraction in fall is probably much higher than it is in winter, for example. But I wondered how far the data goes back at the moment. Can we compare like month on month, like sorry, a month against the same month in previous years, to see how we're sort of tracking year on year in terms of improvements? Obviously, it's relatively early days in terms of the brown bins on this round, but it's cool.
It'll depend on the borough from what I saw and with the rollout of the program more generally. But if I just put in, not letting me go back 36, but this is showing 2 years or so. Bring in Brooklyn. should check what the actual start date is in here, but it goes back at least to late 23.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? This isn't a great tool, and it's so nice to geek out on this. So thank you so much.
Jason, it's Kendall. Just a couple, just to be clear again, I'm sure you reinforced this already, but the denominator here is all compostable organics that have been identified in the waste characterization study. That's the 100%, right?
For capture rate?
No, for what's designated for diversion. The denominator is all designated compostable organics.
It's taking
Right?
the total actuals waste and multiplying
No.
against that waste characterization percentage for what can be compostable.
Well, that's your capture rate, but the denominator, right, is all potential
It's this
all potentially compostable organics that are in the waste stream.
Yes, it's the
Right?
third orange bullet.
So yeah, so your key finding is that citywide we're capturing about 6% of what's been designated.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Beth, do you want to add something to this? Is that why you raised your hand?
Yeah, I think I brought this up in another meeting where you talked about this, Jason, but I'm curious if in creating your formula, if you looked at the formula that Samantha McBride used when she presented to us, because I think it was very similar and she was pulling from obviously the same data sets, but I'm curious if your numbers match her numbers or not, and if you even know that, and if they don't match, I'd be curious what's different about the way that we're calculating it. It seems close to me, but I'm curious if there's any differences there.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and one that I think as a cross swab, we should work with Samantha to address and make sure we're all aligned on this. My understanding, just from what I've heard from the Manhattan team, is that her calculation of capture rate is slightly different, and that it isn't taking the denominator as the aggregate waste multiplied by the percentage of organics that should be represented from the waste characterization study, but just taking the organic waste stream actuals. Might be getting that a little wrong, but the denominator of the capture rate is slightly different in how she is doing it. But it's something that I want to follow up with the Manhattan team, because I think they've been working closely to figure out where those gaps might be.
Well, Jason, that's sort of what I was getting at. I mean, the designated organics in the total waste stream is about 35%, right?
Yes.
Right. So are you saying we're getting, what's the 6% then we're getting as a related to that 35%?
It's
Are we in fact getting like a 16% capture rate?
Well, we're getting so if we're taking 35% of the aggregated waste and we're getting a tonnage out of that, we're getting 6%. We're capturing 6% of what that total could be.
But
The total compostable around 42.5 or 43. I mean, that's across the city, but it went up and down in the 40s, low 40s for sure.
I think it would help if if in your, as you expand the dashboard, you make use of wet weight or dry weight references in all your calculations. I think what Kendall brought up about the moisture content of the organic waste is so significant that it can really, if you don't know what that percentage is and the annual variation in that number is so significant that it can make a tremendous impact in the values that you come up with. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about that? I mean, I guess this can go to anybody who is of that opinion. If what we collect is wet and weighs more because it's wet, when we send it, when we export it as trash, it's the same weight. So we're comparing apples to apples, not to confuse it anymore. I don't know what difference does it make, the water weight. That's part of what it is.
I think what Vasil is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
is that like different times of year, we'll see perhaps different percentages of organics in the waste stream because the weights will differ. Because if you have like a lot of leaves, that's not going to be super heavy. It's just going to be volume.
Right,
Whereas
right.
talking about food waste, right, that's generally wet and heavy. And
Right.
so that could affect what percentage by weight is the organic stream. Am I understanding that
Yes.
correctly? And yeah.
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 And the
And
processing that follows is highly affected.
Right. Whether it's
Yes, the
brown.
extent of the wetness makes a very big difference, because you have to vaporize water first before you can do anything.
Well,
I'm
depending on the compost facility, I guess, right? I mean, if you're taking it to a medium, mid-size, small compost facility, you're not vaporizing anything, you're just processing it.
yep.
Well, Rhonda, you're right. I mean, it plays out in various ways, but just understanding the difference in organics and food waste in particular, as opposed to other recyclable materials that are sort of, non-putrescible. My favorite example, because I came from pumpkin country, is that pumpkins are actually 90% water. And so they weigh a lot and they can count a lot when they're collected in a truck, but something happens to that water along the way, and just having some understanding of what that is can be useful in assessing this. Jason, other data that would be helpful is from an operational perspective, and I know DSNY is probably loath to share this, is what's their collection metrics these days? How many tons per truck, how many tons per shift are they collecting? That's been a point of concern and interest. Is it more than a ton or two per truck? A fully loaded waste truck averages about 10 tons. A fully loaded recycling truck averages about 5 or 6 tons. And where is organics on that scale? Operationally, that's one of the issues that the city will be looking at, because they look at cost per ton on the collection side as a key metric for these programs, for these systems.
Yeah, good point.
And of course, it's going to be going up as we see that it seems to be going as the collection rates get better because of the
Well, hopefully it's going up, but there's also some plateauing in these things as well. There's an initial burst of interest, and is it sustained or not? Is another
well, and
question.
time will tell, certainly. Allison?
Well,
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna add about like the truck, the axle route weight per truck. We have, and actually, I think we're hoping to get a meeting with the new commissioner, the SWAB chairs, hopefully in the near future. In the past, Tish had said, that she was going to let us meet with their data analytics team. And, that's where we would hope to be able to get that information. And then, ideally, Jason, William, Ezra, might be able to go to that meeting, show them what we have, and then show them what we look is missing and see if they'll cooperate. So, I don't know that we can get that data without help from DSN1.
So to be continued, I guess, that conversation. Susanna, do you want to ask your question? Or do you want me someone just to read it out? She asks, go ahead.
I can
Sorry.
read it.
That's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, great, really exciting to hear your presentation. And I don't know if this is too specific, but are you able to parse out in this data collection leaf collection in terms of tonnage or well, not tonnage, they're so light, but volume per district? The rate at which DSNY now, they take our leaves, but we don't really get compost back anymore from the city like we used to, because the compost project is dead. And in our community, we're trying to encourage people. We have leaf bin bills to keep leaves in place so they're not removed from land. And each leaf bin produces about $200 worth of free leaf humus that gets decomposes in 9 months on site. There's no trucking, and then people get to top dress, their street tree pits, their community gardens, their foundation plantings, and keep all that organic matter in place. And I guess part of my question is tying back to one of the earlier comments, which I barely missed, about would there ever be a discussion about trying to change some policy in the city around how leaves are taken away, and then we never see the benefit of them. But does your charting, is it able to parse out that type of organic matter yet? Or
I believe leaves is one of the few categories that we can parse out.
great.
I'll take a look at that as well.
Okay. The context is that a part of this question too is that Long Island Compost for 20 years has been getting a lot of leaves from private landscapers for free. They charge for it. There's tons of carting out to Long Island, and they clear $76 million a year making soil, bagging it up, and then it gets sold on Amazon or Lowe's. So we buy back things that we're giving away for free.
Can I just interject? We have some things in the chat. Allison said they're starting to do more compost givebacks. Elizabeth has a link to compost givebacks, and Allison also shared another link to compost givebacks. Maybe
Great.
the same link.
Great.
And Uli says you can get up to 10 40-pound bags, but the givebacks book up fast.
Well, they do. Yeah, just to say, before the compost project was killed, when you would call DSNY to get on the list to get pallets delivered to school gardens, they only serve 200 school sites out of the 1,600 school sites that are in New York City. So they were woefully not even keeping up with demand for getting compost, as we know. So yeah, it just would be great to kind of make the argument to, but thank you for your.
Yeah, and also I know that a lot of the New York City Compost Network, which is the new sort of organization formed around the funded organizations, they do have compost deliveries as part of what they're doing to get funded. And so you can reach out to those organizations.
Right. Yeah, part of our point with the South Midwood Pollinator Group, and we work with Brooklyn College Sustainability, is to really also encourage people is to keep your leaves on site. Don't even you can do it easily with a 3-foot diameter chicken wire bin.
Nice.
And try and get that workshop and that type of training out there. So, but good to know about the rebound. Is that through big reuse that some of these compost giveaways are coming?
I think any of them, like Big Reuse, any of them that do composting on site, definitely the giveaways.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you have a how-to for the, if you wanted to share out, if you have a written how-to, like
sure
leaves on site.
Okay.
That's that we'd love to share that out.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for the data.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Jason. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Okay. I want to, before we lose our people, I would love to have our elections and bring up Michael. And sorry, Lacey, we're just putting you off just for a little bit. Just while we still have
That's okay.
a quorum. Yeah. Michael, would you like to? Yeah.
Whoa. Yes, we have, so we're holding elections tonight. We have a quorum. And we have a slate of nominees who have come forward and would like to be on the SWAB board. And now I will share that slate. Wait. We'll be back. Sorry.
Just say if you want anybody else to share, but you should do it.
Let's see. Help me out here. Where is the share button?
It's center on your panel. It's green.
There, it's green, right there in front of me. Okay. And here we are. So here is here's the slide deck, and here are the people who have come forward and would like to lead us going forward. So here are the nominees: Mary Ellen, Lee, and Beth. And do we have any? First of all, do we have any nominations from the floor? Okay, not seeing any nominations from the floor. You all have this. You all have the link to this, I believe. Yes, it has. I sent it out yesterday. So I hope that you have looked it over. The nominees are Mary Ellen for chair, Rhonda for vice chair, Lee for secretary, and Beth for sergeant at arms. So I would like to move that we accept the slate of nominees en masse. So if you would be so kind as to vote by raising your hand, by raising your virtual hand, and we will count them.
Can we make a comment first? Like,
yes, of
okay.
course.
I wanted to say my first and second and third and fourth, all of these candidates, they're amazing. They've done so much great work for the SWAB and in general, you know, to improve our environment. So I think like all hands should be raised.
Yes, and I would like to say that it has been, serving as the sergeant at arms has been a great experience. And I am glad to turn it over to Beth. And I encourage everyone to consider serving on the executive committee at some point in the future. There's also, you know, committees, other committees that people are welcome to join, and that's what the SWAB runs on. It's not just these meetings. Things actually get done here, thanks to the people who serve on the committees and get things done. So so I'm going to stop sharing so I can see, or can someone else? I'm going to stop sharing, and now we can see how many hands are raised. And so these are in favor. Beth, can you help count?
I'm doing it, Michael.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
counting. Yeah, if people are able to use the virtual hand raise, that's really helpful because it just puts you to the forefront.
Yeah. Just that little.
I don't know how to raise my hand virtually through my phone. I can't figure that out, but this is Susanna. I'm raising my hand. Sorry.
If you go to the list of participants and find your name,
Oh,
and
okay.
click on your name, it will then ask you if you want to raise or lower your hand.
Okay, thank you. I'll try that.
Susanna, I don't think you're a Brooklyn SWAB member. Are you this vote as member only?
I've been a member, hi, Vondra, for a while, and maybe unless it expired, but I've been a long time.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah.
the keeper of the list and you are not on it, which
Okay.
means you have not applied in at least 4 years.
Oh, okay. I've been on other the last year, so I will
Okay, well,
apply.
I'll send
Then I
throw
don't
your
need to vote.
email in the chat
That's-
and I'll send you the link.
That's fine.
No worries.
Bondra can vouch for me. We've known each other a long time, but I will vote another time. Thanks.
Right.
17?
Yeah, I have 14. Yeah. Whatever it is, Michael, it's definitely a majority of the quorum that's here.
Okay.
Michael, you need to vote.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Okay. Hands up. 15. All right.
Doing applause.
And so now, hands down. Should we ask if we have any members opposed to the slate as presented?
Oh.
I am not seeing any hands up. Do we have any members who want to abstain from the vote? Hands up. No members are abstaining from the vote. I believe that the motion to accept the slate of nominees has passed. And I welcome the new, well, I want to welcome the new board, the new executive committee to the SWAB. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for doing this. Thank you for serving as the Sergeant at Arms for 2 wonderful years. And I want to also say thank you to everyone else who ran, and thanks to everyone for voting. Excellent, excellent work. And we're very excited to start our new term in new positions. Everybody's in a whole new position. Exciting. And we're excited to welcome Mary Ellen as the chair. And thanks everyone for voting. It's been excellent serving as chair. I couldn't have done it without such an amazing team. And thanks to everyone, and especially thanks to Lacey for being such an incredible support and reference and pillar of everything that we're doing here. Other board members, if I've forgotten any thank yous, please step up and say. While we have this quorum, maybe we should vote on the minutes that Mary Ellen doesn't have to do anymore. That she did such a good job on. Does anybody, I always forget these procedural words. Beth, what is it? Does anybody move to approve?
Make a motion.
Thank you. Does anybody make a motion? Betty makes a motion to approve the minutes, and Michael, do you second that? Is that what you're, okay. Can all in favor, maybe raise your hand again? We can count. How many?
12, which is
Perfect. Okay, anybody opposed? And does anybody abstain from voting?
wait till people
Oh yeah, sorry, everyone put your hand.
lower their hands.
Yeah, lower your hands and I'll ask the opposed question again. Liz and Vasile. Okay, Vasile, your hand is still up. Does that mean you're opposed? Or are you abstaining? Okay, good. Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Oh, Sherry's abstaining. Vonda, are you abstaining?
Yes, I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, 2 abstentions. Thank you, everyone. Excellent. Okay, so now we've done all our voting. Thanks, everyone. Lacey, would you like to give your update?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to our outgoing slate and to Rhonda and Beth. I am excited to continue working with you in different roles and to be working with the new folks. I don't really have much. I always say that and then I have a lot, but really this time I think I don't have much. We are keeping our eye on the budget hearing, of course, which is going to be on May 12th. Sanitation Committee, I mean, of course. And we usually prepare a letter to the speaker as our sort of final budget response and that we will send like later in the month. And in terms of sanitation related things, obviously we're looking at community composting and staffing for commercial waste zones. They made an announcement at the hearing that they'll be rolling out the rest of the zones through 2027. The borough president's a little disappointed in the slowness of that timeline, given the fact that we passed that bill back in 2019. So their staffing capacity for that program is about half of what it originally was supposed to be. So we're really trying to shine a light on that in terms of the budget negotiations as they're happening. And of course lift up the asks from the Save Our Compost folks. I think that's really it for me right now. Oh, and thank you to Rhonda and to Matt if you're here for speaking at our planning for Brooklyn's Climate Future event on Monday, and for Mary Ellen and Miriam and Michael for all tabling at our Sustainable Building Resource Fair on Tuesday last week. They were both very successful, so I appreciate you all contributing to that. That's it.
Thank
really.
you. Yet another example of how much you're doing in the area of sustainability. Okay, Sherry, Beth, do you want to give this SOC update? Sherry signing off.
Sure. I'm just going to read her email that I just opened and haven't even read myself. So here we go. This is Sherry's update for SOC. The Save Our Compost Coalition, group that BkSWAB is a member of, presented a community composting budget request briefing for city council members to review the requested funds for FY26, as there are a number of new and renewed funding requests. There were about a third of the city council members' offices represented. The mayor's office published the FY26 budget. Sherry doesn't have more details on what is included or not there, but the next step is budget hearings in May, as Lacey mentioned. The executive budget hearing for the Sanitation and Solid Waste Management Committee is on Monday, May 12th at 10 a.m. And Sherry will share the link to the city council. Thank you. Email you can fill out if you would like to. The budget support push is on. SOC is also working on setting up some structures for the group, including how decisions are made, etc. So that is what I've got.
Thank you. Thanks so much. How about reusable NYC?
And some months
Are
our meeting
you
happens.
taking questions about any of these, or you just want the reports first?
Well, Sherry was the one who gave the report, but she had to leave. So I'm not sure who can answer questions for that. But do you want to answer your?
No, but also Lacey, you didn't ask for questions after Lacey's
Oh, I'm
presentation.
sorry, Kendall. I tuned out for a second. Did you ask me a question?
I didn't yet, but I'd be glad to. I'm just curious what your takeaways were from the hearing, apart from the schedule itself. Any of the findings from the pilot zone? Anything else related to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it we knew more or less just from meetings that we've had with our staff along the way. In terms of the success of the we're talking about commercial waste zones. There was a pilot zone, Queen, or really the first zone rollout in Queens. Sanitation has portrayed it as being mostly successful. I would say they in terms of their outreach, they they had to sign up a lot of businesses themselves as opposed to having the businesses do it on their own, which is interesting. And I think we'll start to see that change more as people become more aware of the program, maybe. But either way, they have managed to enroll all the businesses with one of the chosen carters in that zone. And I think there's also been some concerning things about enforcement. So when they do the zone rollout, they also up enforcement in the zone. And 2 of the 3 carters have already hit the threshold for notices of violations to receive like an extra $2,500 violation on top of that. Because it's like a certain number of violations in a certain time period. So I mean, what that says to me is just that like culture change is still needed in the industry. And, so I'm very nervous to sort of evaluate any program that's supposed to be citywide based on its how it works in one small geography. So, kind of some mixed takeaways, I think, in terms of how it's going, and, some hopefulness that as the rollout happens, we'll get more information and more data, and specifically we'll start to get more information, that I know this group will be interested in terms of how they're doing on diversion rates and things like that. It's so new that like I feel like right now we don't really have that yet, and so that's something we want to keep our eye on.
Well, I know
Oh,
you're much more closer than anybody else, but apart from the testimony from DSNI, do you have access to any sort of written reports that provide a sort of a deeper assessment of the pilot zone?
I don't. They give us we have a monthly meeting with them and they present us with some information, but they don't share like written reports or anything with us yet.
Okay. And I missed it because I was away, but one of the things I caught from the testimony was and other commentaries about it was the very small number of businesses that opted for organics collection, something like in the 2% range. Does that ring a bell with you?
I don't recall that part, but I also know, they heard the bill that Councilmember Abreu has that would require like a much larger universe of commercial businesses to source separate organics. And I know sanitation is eager to pass that bill, so I'm assuming it's going to move pretty quickly.
But that would be tied to the rollout, so, right?
That's true. That's a good point, Kendall. That's something for everyone to keep their eye on. This bill, they had originally sort of portrayed it as a bill that would just do exactly what I just said, but the implementation of it is going to be tied to the commercial waste zone rollout, which means they'll only be required to do it once their zone comes online sometime between now and 2027. So it's going to be kind of a slow roll in terms of having those regulations apply to a larger universe of businesses, which is just another reason that we want this to go faster. And to answer Oliver's question, example of violations, it's all over the place. I mean, they're giving a lot of them for small things like leakage from the trucks. But then there's also bigger ones that are more concerning, like driving the wrong way or speeding or, driving violations, things like that. So it really runs the gamut between smaller ones and larger ones.
And just to say, leakage from the trucks is one thing that changes the amount of water in the organics. Right? So that's a violation. It's not supposed to be happening. Okay, so now we can move on to reusable NYC.
The meeting this month is tomorrow, so I don't have an update. I gave an update last month because the meeting came before our meeting, so
okay.
Stay tuned.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we're ahead of schedule again. So the executive committee, we just changed hands. We're gonna have a meeting to do like a transfer of and reshuffle the jobs we're all doing. And anything else, executive committee? No, nothing else. Okay.
Rhonda, what's happened to the status of the organics siting approach?
The policy brief on Intro 696? Is that
Yep,
what you're asking about? Okay.
that's what I'm asking about.
We are in the middle of rewrites, and we're finishing the latest draft and going through it amongst ourselves, and we'll bring it up maybe for discussion. I'm not sure if we can get to a discussion next month about it.
Rhonda, that begs a question I was going to raise just in terms of scheduling.
Yeah.
I think we're holding 2 dates for July
Thank
and one
you.
for August, but I think usually the SWAB votes on whether we have those meetings or at minimum has to pick the date for July. Or
Right.
maybe we don't meet in July and August, whatever you want to do, but we need to do that.
Thank you. We should vote on that now. Well, we could vote on it now, or we could vote on it in June, whatever you guys want to do. Do we have enough people to vote on it now? Because the first Monday in July is the 7th, which is the end of the long weekend. So we could do it on the 7th, or we could do it on the 14th, which is Flag Day.
No, June 14th is Flag Day.
Oh, right, sorry, which is Bastille Day.
Yeah, Bastille Day.
Yeah. Miriam.
It's La Bastille.
Yes. Does anybody have?
I mean, July 7 is going to be tight. I mean, we will all we will forget about it.
Yeah. And we usually take off, we usually vote in June whether to take off. You know, we could vote in June for both of these at the beginning of that meeting, because we also vote in June usually whether to take off July or August, because we generally take off one of the summer months. So maybe we could wait. Does that seem like it's too short notice for people? But it does seem like we're inching towards July 14th.
Yeah, what did we do last year? Did we take July off or August?
We took August off, and that's generally what we do, is take August off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's wait. If no one objects, we'll wait until next month to vote on both of the meeting.
Betty says, let's decide now.
I think for July, my team might prefer if we decided now, just for planning purposes, on if we're going to do it on a date, and then we can vote in June about if we want to take August off.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make a motion for July 14. I don't know if I have the right to do that. I'm not part of the executive board.
We would love to have you join the board meeting, I have to say.
I don't know how I can do that, but
I know you're busy. Does anybody second?
I will second the July 14th motion.
Okay.
Or first, if I have to first it.
Okay. First and second. All in favor of making the July 14th, making the July meeting set for July 14th.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I should.
Oh, I should raise my hand. Okay. Where is the raise there?
That's
Wait, Miriam, I don't think you're a voting member either.
No, she didn't. She put her hand down.
Okay. I was gonna say,
Miriam.
Yeah, you could be, Miriam.
I know we would love you to join.
Okay, guys, I just need to put my application in sometime.
Come on. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
It's good. Get it too.
Get it 100 times.
Yeah. Okay. We've got plenty. Some people put their hands down already, but do you want to call the opposed and abstains?
Okay. Do you want to say opposed and abstained? Should we? Okay, wait. Everybody put your hands down, and then we'll call for anybody opposed to July 14th as a date for our July meeting. Okay, Lee and Liz are okay. And Lee, okay, she probably just stepped away for a second, but she's taking a break before she has to start. Okay, thanks. Before she has to start taking notes. Okay, so anybody opposed to having our July meeting on July 14th? And does anyone abstain? Okay, July 14th it is. Great, thanks. Now, Lacey, we're doing it July 14th. And we'll decide about taking off on August on the next meeting. Okay, next, we would like to have the outreach committee update. Is anybody here to do that? Is Mark here?
Hi,
Miriam's
Rhonda.
here.
Hi, Miriam.
So Mark told me if I asked me if I can do it because I think he could not come for this meeting, and actually Marie-Hélène can also do it with me.
Okay.
Because we basically we tabled at the Borough Hall Sustainability Night, and it was very awesome. Marie-Hélène got signatures from many people, at least 2 pages of people who stopped by asking questions. What else? It was very interesting. I mean, for me, it was the first time. Marie-Hélène, I think. Go ahead, Marie-Hélène, you want to talk, please, about it?
Okay, sure. It was really fun working with you, Miriam. I have to say, everybody knows Miriam. Everybody's coming up to her at Borough Hall and hugging her. So wonderful. I felt like I was with a celebrity. So yeah, we got definitely a bunch of people. There were 2 professors, one from Pratt and one from CUNY, who also signed up. I talked with them a little bit, asked one if they'd be willing to speak. We also had an email thread recently about a graduate internship. I sent it to both of them, and further demonstrated the power and benefit of the SWAB. So I think that they're immediately thrilled that they've joined, or at least are getting our newsletter. So in any event, there were some great presenters, a lot of good energy there. It was well attended, and I think a lot of interesting people came by, and I think it's a great place for us to continue to table. So thanks for the opportunity, Lacey.
Great, thank you. And thanks so much again for doing it.
So, and the other thing is that we could not do the tabling at the co-op. It was just like too crowded, too many things at the same time. And what else happened? And then we are still working on, there's a survey that we're working on, and there is the problem of the schools, Rhonda. So you know the problem of the schools. And we have a great conversation going on because I'm from inside the schools and I'm scratching my head and hitting my head against the walls. But the people who are from outside, they're like, I think we can do something. So I'm very open to their, comment dire, to, you know, their ideas, and why not? Maybe we'll find another way of enforcing what's happening in the schools. And we have somebody with us on the group, comment il s'appelle? Guzler. His name is Gizler, Michael Gizer, and he is doing something with DSNY, and they organize the results of organics collection, and they separated residential from schools. And he said he's going to present it maybe at the general meeting. It was going to be either this month or next month. But if he's not here, that means he's going to do it next month. But he came to visit us. I don't know.
Was it Jason Ginsburg?
Pardon, Ginsburg. Voilà.
He did.
Like the French singer.
Yes.
Gainsbourg.
Yeah,
Ginsburg. Sorry. I
well,
butchered his name.
He did present tonight, actually.
Oh my God, I missed it then.
Yeah, but you know, we'll see. We're recording this, so
okay.
We'll get to see the recording, and he'll send a link afterwards about that will show you the, you know, the data, how you can interact with it. Okay, thank you very much.
Can I add to that? Just one little factoid. Oh, do you hear me?
Yes, yes, please do.
Yeah. Okay. So I was in part of the outreach meeting, and I said I would contact our contact person in the Department of Ed's sustainability group, because she had met with us a few times early last year, and then I don't know why, but it kind of faded away. And I wrote to her and said, I know this is after your hours, your working hours at the DOE, etc., and asked her to make a suggestion how we could connect. And I have not yet heard from her, but I will continue to follow up because the school's connection is very important.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the other Miriam, right? That's Miriam.
Yes, exactly.
Who used
Thank
to
you,
be a
Randy.
Brooklyn
The DOE Miriam, we call her.
Yes, yes. And she used to be a Brooklyn SWAB member, actually. So great, that's wonderful. She can give you some good thoughts on that. Okay, anything else? Any questions for
No,
the outreach
that's
committee?
it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did
Yes.
Jason show the schools, or I don't recall that he mentioned or showed us anything about the schools?
Yeah.
I think here's what he told us. He told us when we were at our meeting, he told us that the data of the DSNY, which shows separation between residential and school, but then when he came to the sustainability night, I told him I'm very excited about seeing the data, and he said, I don't know if they reached that step yet. So I don't know if that's what happened tonight with you at the presentation. Okay.
No, it didn't happen. He didn't
happen
really
yet.
talk about
Okay.
it.
Well, he told me. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, does DSNY take it from the schools, and how do
Yes,
they?
they do take it from the schools. One of the issues with the data from the schools is that the data is it's by truck tonnage, and the truck routes that pick up from schools also pick up the smart bins. And it's not really possible to tease out the smart bins from the schools because they're in the same load. So that muddies the data.
Ah.
Right. Yeah. A lot. Muddies the data is kind of the name of the game in schools.
The data, yes, is muddy.
Contamination, it's all in there. Okay. Any other questions for the outreach committee? Okay, great. Thank you so much for the work you're doing and for that update. Yes, Organics Industry Committee. Is Alice?
Yes, that's me. I just want to chime in for a second on the schools thing, because I actually reached out to Materials for the Arts today too to see if they would be doing a collection, which they've done in the past. And I guess I was prompted over the weekend. I was hearing this news report that, with the tariffs, people were saying, well, when it comes back to school, the shelves may be empty. So that would be a real impetus for schools to really, think twice about what they're throwing away. So I'd like to explore that a little bit. And, if I hear back from the Materials for the Arts, I'll certainly get back to the outreach team.
Yeah.
Not, so,
That's great, Allison. Last year, I know that they did a push for schools to both bring their end of year stuff and for teachers to come and shop.
Yeah, it just, I don't think, I've kind of been watching it the last couple of years. I don't see that it's growing. It seemed like it actually had a little bit of a setback last year. I mean, I may be wrong. But, again, in light of the current situation, I'm just hoping people will really think about reusing, keeping those, pens and notebooks, that get thrown away because 2 sheets of paper were used. And that kind of thing. And I will also add, and I don't want to go off track, but I learned that Staples has a great recycling program, and they've added pens and markers and things like that. So
What? We don't hear you very well. Can you put it on the chat, please, Alison?
I don't know what's wrong. Is that any better? Okay, maybe I'm having.
I'm sorry, maybe me.
Okay, I'm having computer problems. I don't know what to do. I'll put it in the chat. I don't know if you can hear me, but organics wise, we have our organics committee meeting next week on Monday. You've probably all heard about the pause and the fines for smaller buildings. So Need to learn a little bit more about what the plan is on that. We don't really have any more information yet on that. But yeah, if we'll be talking about all this next Monday. I always ask if anybody has kind of had any different or strange experiences in their own buildings, that you'd want to share with anybody. So just, we always talk about
something about you, related to the outreach committee about the survey. Can you update us on the survey that we were supposed to have access to send out to building managers and building?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's still not done. I am waiting to hear back from Eric on edits. I think we're waiting to hear back from Rebecca Poole, who's with the Council for New York City Co-ops and Condos. I don't know that we got her feedback. She was one of the people we were waiting for as well. So it really, and Eric is looking to try to shorten it. So I don't really have a new version to share. As soon as I do, obviously I will.
Could we be people to give feedback to the version that, whatever version comes out next?
Didn't we do that? I can share it again. I thought I shared it at the last outreach meeting.
You did. I just didn't know if there was another version that we should look at.
I don't think I've seen another version yet.
I thought you said somebody was working.
We have a meeting this week, so.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, so, I guess we could go through it and get feedback, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Allison, I did have a quick question. Just wondering if there is a way for the brown bins, if you're not the right person, sorry. If there is a way to report contamination, if it's like not something that you feel like you could just like put that in the right bin. I think the brown bin in my building, the outreach hasn't been done very well. So folks just kind of use it as like a bonus trash bin. Half of the time, like some weeks it's good, some weeks it's bad. So is there a way to be like, to avoid contamination of non-compostable?
Well, certainly signage, I don't know. Some buildings have done good communication, some buildings have done okay, some haven't done any. So, just clear communications about what is going in. I feel like in my building, I have contamination a lot, but I think a lot of it is the contractors who walk by the bins and, because it's in the service entry area, and they'll just put, the remains of their lunch, including their soda bottle. Just clear. That is something. There should be a sign, that clearly states what does not go in this bin. So I can ask. One of the things I was hoping Sherry might be here because as one of the groups that actually gets funding for outreach on the curbside program, I was wondering if she would have any updates, and I'm kind of in touch with her and her team about new materials that they've created, because we shouldn't all have to recreate the wheel. You'd have to think someone has done a sign that can help with contamination. I know, for example, in my building, we started a separate bin just for plant and yard waste, because that stuff can fill up a bin too, and then it doesn't leave, because plant and yard waste can go in a clear plastic bag as long as it's not commingled with food.
Thank you.
Yeah. And a challenge with the brown bins in the smaller houses. We have a brown bin. It's labeled. It's everything that's supposed to be, and we get a lot of people putting the dog do in there. So people go by, they think it's a public receptacle for anything they want to get rid of. And we have signs there, and no dog do, and etc. And it's just within our it's beyond our gates. It isn't in the public domain, so to speak. And I just think there needs to be like a much stronger public outreach campaign in general about all of this.
Yeah, and even I thought about doing like stickers and putting them on the bins, like no dog poop, no.
Yeah, we have that, but it doesn't. People who you don't want to walk down the street with your dog poo, you want to get rid of it. So a brown bin is there, you know, it's a challenge.
Are you saying it's once is your bin always set out in like a public kind of space? Like on the.
It's not a public space. It's behind a, you know, an iron gate in front of a brownstone row house. You know,
So-
it's within our area way. It's not in the public domain, but somebody can reach in.
Okay. Do you think it's your residents in your building putting the dog poop, or do you think it's
No, nobody has a dog. No, it's people walking by, just like they put dog poop in my street tree with signs and everything else. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And unless there's a huge public information campaign and people are very selfish about, you know, what they want, etc. I won't go there. Yeah.
Is the lid shut properly? Because I feel like that should be a deterrent, because opening the lid is kind of annoying.
The lid is shut, yes. It's a proper brown bin with a lid that sometimes it might not be shut if somebody put it in. I'm not home 24 hours, 7, you know. But
So
no, I've
maybe
never seen it open. I just, when I.
Yeah, but if the lid is properly shut, it's really kind of difficult to open. So maybe it's educating the people in your building to shut the lid properly.
There's
so that
2
it's
people in the
fresh.
building, myself and my tenants. Nobody has dogs. This is people who walk by and walk their dogs. This is not my building.
No, I just meant about shutting it properly. Then maybe people won't put the dog
No,
poo in
it's
there because
shut.
of the.
It's
Okay.
a brown bin that's captured. I mean, I'm saying that it's part of the general notion of people doing what they please. Or people, I mean, I could go on and on, people riding their e-bikes on the sidewalk, you know, etc. People not moving on alternate side days, people parking in front of the hydrant for days at a time. I mean, it's that kind of I'll do what I want philosophy.
Beth, do you want to weigh in or?
Yeah, I did. Well, I was gonna comment, Allison, to give you some anecdotal input on my building. Some of you may know that I talked to my super for about 1.5 years before we finally got brown bins, and it was really the fines that you know, that got them moving and like panicked my super. And it's very interesting. So we now have 2 brown bins. I really don't know where the second one came from, but I was told not to ask questions. And last week before pickup, they were both like filled to the brim. And this was very interesting, but I did not look to see how terribly contaminated they were, because I'd rather live in ignorance, at least for the beginning. And I did also have a neighbor who I'm quite friendly with, but she doesn't know like what I do or that I'm involved in like any of this. And she just said to me out of the blue one day, she goes, "So how's composting going for you?" And I was like, oh, like we're really like doing it in our building now. Like it was very interesting that there's been a neighbor put up some signage in like 7 languages, very basic. Some of it was incorrect information, but good enough. And it seemed to get people involved. So we'll see. But I you know, I'm sure most people aren't doing it, but people are, so that's cool. And other thing I wanted to share is that in my community board meeting last month, sorry, I know I told Rhonda this, I'm just gonna say it. So there was great talk of the, Debbie, how many units are there? Almost 100, like 98. In my community board meeting last month, this community board is very opposed to composting, and the it's very interesting because the idea of the fines finally in the March meeting got people really talking about it, and like they needed to learn how to do it. And then most of the folks in my community board who attend the meetings live in smaller buildings. So the fines are paused for them. And so, you know, there was a lot of I wouldn't use the word cheering, but basically cheering about that in my community board meeting, even though they said, this is they said that DSNY is calling this the education and outreach period, but the unspoken thing was that this is the we don't have to do this now period. And what our district manager actually said was he actually referred to all of organics collection as stupid composting, to which I called him out on that and also mentioned that it happened to be Earth Day that day. So that's what's happening in places. And I will note that when Jason briefly shared the data broken down by community district, Community Board 12 was at the bottom of the list. So this is where we are. But in all seriousness, I do think that it is really important to put pressure to bring the fines back, because this we forgot to do education and outreach. It's like, well, do it while you're finding people, because that's going to make them listen. And I am surprised at how much the tide has shifted with the fear of fines, and I think we need to lean into that and see what we can do.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Beth. I think that's a good analysis. I also want to add that some of the community districts have large amounts of NYCHA housing, which don't have systems, etc., for collection, not as well as education, etc., etc. Some of them don't even seem to be separating recyclables from regular trash. I mean, the NYCHA, that's a whole other world. So when we look at these community boards, I would say probably half of the population in CB2 lives in NYCHA.
but I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just going to interject here. I don't know if that's included in the waste characterization study, because I don't think, is NYCHA even collected by DSNY? I think that's part of the reason that the brown bin rollout hasn't happened.
I don't know. Maybe somebody could find out. That's a very good question, Ron.
Kendall, do you know?
They're partially collected, and they have some of their own internal collection. It's a sort of a mixed system.
And by partial, do you mean like some of the
They have their own fleet of trucks. I don't know what's happening on the organic side, but on the mixed waste side, they have their own fleet of trucks to be polite about it, to supplement DSNY collection.
Yeah, but it does
Can
also.
we reach out to somebody, Rhonda?
Yeah, we could do that. We should. That's a good question.
So Kendall, do you know if it's part of the waste characterization study or?
That's the question.
I don't know, without looking at that study to see what it's included in it. I'm guessing it probably did, but I don't know that 100%.
I don't know why they would if they're not the ones. I mean, if they're not, like, maybe they would the ones where they are doing it, but areas where they're not, I can't imagine they would count that.
I think like close to 10% of the people in New York City live in NYCHA. So this is.
Oh, we lost Betty. If NYCHA residents organized, they'd be the largest voting bloc in New York City.
Yes, NYCHA waste does go to DSNY. Most of those trucks bring the waste to compactors, but the compactors are serviced by DSNY. And if NYCHA is tipping, I mean, is collecting any waste in trucks, and I mean, this could have happened since I stopped working with them. They are tipping at DSNY. They're not.
Okay, so okay. And the other thing is the compactors, sometimes those compactors are on site. I toured Red Hook West facility and saw a compactor on site, but I thought it was operated by them at NYCHA. So I didn't know. Maybe the trash.
They are NYCHA. The compactors belong to NYCHA, but what comes out of the compactors goes to DSNY.
Oh, I see.
Ah, okay. The same thing for Stuyvesant. They have their own compactor on the Lower East Side. I saw them. I mean, so it makes sense that it goes after to DSNY.
Yeah.
Can I
I
just
mean,
say that Michael was also present at the sustainability night at the borough, what
yeah,
is it called, Borough Hall, and
yeah.
he was presenting his wonderful organization about the collection for the paints and the reuse of the paint. And it's the only organization that I know of, so
Yeah.
very proud of. Thank you, Michael, for doing that.
Hey, it was great. But in terms of, see, it's different for Stuytown because Stuytown may want collection more often than DSNY offers, right? And so large developments like Stuytown may use commercial haulers.
Oh, additionally.
Additionally, or instead of.
Uh-huh. Which is interesting. And also, I would imagine that the compactors make it difficult to actually characterize the waste if there's several different waste streams squished in together. Are they
No.
unraveling that?
No, the way the waste characterization study works is they dump a truck on a tipping floor and they go take rakes and pull, separate everything out.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if it's compacted together, it's not really done teased out with a rake.
It's not that compacted,
Oh, okay.
not a solid block.
Okay, because that's been in my nightmares. So thank you. You've just eliminated one of my nightmares. So, and by the way, all this chat is great, and we're still ahead of schedule. So don't feel like we're gonna stay late. Thanks everybody for everything. That's such a lively, robust discussion. I was hoping for that for so long. Okay, so now let us move to the events committee, who just had a very successful event. And we want to say thank you again to Liz for organizing. Would you like to report on it?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So on Saturday, we had the Riverkeeper cleanup of the Erie Basin Park, which is behind IKEA along the waterfront. We had 9 volunteers in total. And our site was one of the 110 sites all up and down the Hudson River. So the impact is much greater than our one site. And we had some great volunteers, and we cleaned up. What happens is IKEA is the landowner for Erie Basin Park, so the park looks pretty good. There's plenty of trash cans, but there are some rocks between the water and the park that's kind of like no man's land, and like naturally people just throw their trash on the other side of the fence, and also there's a pier that juts out into the water that's also kind of no man's land. So we cleaned up those areas, and we got like 14 bags of trash between the volunteers, and we had good energy. It was a good day, and we went out for drinks afterwards. So
well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you to and Uli. Want to say anything else?
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you so much. That's really great. These events are really nice. These in-person things are great, Liz. So thank you so much for organizing.
And we chatted up some new people about their trashy interests. So
nice. Always good to recruit more crashy people.
I wanted to say one thing also. Liz, thank you so much for organizing. And we talked about going back to the wildflowers over at the Newtown Creek Alliance group, right? So we'll have to pick a date for that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't make it last time, but I was talking about it all the time, and then apparently people enjoyed it. And also it was very funny. This one guy who came, he said that all of us have OCD, and that's why we're obsessively picking up waste. And I had to agree with him in a way, because when it comes to Actually, when it comes to my own home, I think I'm the opposite of my mom. She's like OCD about her own home, and I'm not so much. But when I get outside, I'm OCD about garbage, and especially on the beach and a waterway. And I also, those rocks, I think they attract young people because there was a lot of like cigarettes and little alcohol bottles, and I think they probably jumped the fence and they hang out there. So that probably explains all the garbage.
And can you imagine if the bigger, better bottle bill passed and those little alcohol bottles were worth money, those nibs?
And all those plastics, so many plastic bottles, like hundreds of them. And I mean, there was a lot of waste, a lot of waste. And IKEA, this billion-dollar industry, couldn't bother to give their time or attention to it. And it's probably the city's land, we decided. And they don't give any.
Oh,
No, it's actually IKEA's land. In order to build the store, it is IKEA's land.
Oh, even the water, like the rocks and the water?
The rocks, I don't know about, but definitely they were given a priority to manage Erie Basin Park. We learned this last year because we have to get everyone to sign a Riverkeepers waiver and also an IKEA waiver because it is it's their park.
they're right.
Right, but the rocks and the
So
water.
that was a little bit of a controversy for us when we spoke about the this event. Some of us were saying, so why isn't it IKEA who's doing the work? Why are we going to clean up for IKEA? So in this case, I would say that the drinks should have been on IKEA at least, or they should do something. I mean, if volunteers are coming to clean up their shores, the IKEA should be, maybe we should ask them and send them a letter, right, Aranda?
That's a great idea.
You know, because
That's a good job for outreach committee. If you have
Okay.
pictures, or did you do any inventory of that day?
Yeah, and we'll share that information. We have some photos and some inventory. But the thing is, with Riverkeeper, you like the volunteer group has to go out and find a site, has to find a landowner to say, hey, we'll clean up for you, coordinate with us. And it's actually a little more difficult than you think for somebody to take you up on your free labor. Like I reached out to the Parks Department about Coney Island Beach and didn't hear back. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why we also stuck with that site because we knew it, and we they were coordinating with us.
Due to liability issues, IKEA does not allow their people to go out on the rocks. We, as fearless volunteers, volunteered. Some volunteered to go out on the rocks. Some volunteers said, I will not go out on rocks. So there was also a street that goes down to the NYCPD motorcycle impound lot that trails the river. And there's a lot of trash because there's a lot of buses, a lot of people fishing, and they just leave their trash on the street. So that was a pretty messy street. And some volunteers spent some time picking that up, and that is absolutely not IKEA property. So, so all in all, it was a good event, and also IKEA connected us to their sustainability team and said or suggested doing a joint event. So hopefully that'll come to fruition. So we'll look out for that.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that Manhattan SWAB has done litter cleanups in front of like different electeds offices, and then done like, this would be reduced by the Packaging Reduction Recycling Infrastructure Act, or this would be reduced by the expansion of the bottle bill. So that's kind of a great way to use your data too, which sorry, I didn't think of that, but anyway.
Can I still ask a question to Elizabeth? Since she's organizing this event, there is another place in Brooklyn, which same thing with the rocks, etc. It's under the, I don't know if it still exists, the Toys R Us. I don't know. It's very far. It's on Shore Road. The other. It's behind the Verrazano Bridge. Anybody knows that
It's the
place?
Caesar's Plaza? Is that what
Mm,
used to be Caesar's Plaza?
yes, and there is like a place where you like it's a mini mall with a lot of things, and now it's come on, the advanced. Now there is a Starbucks in that place. But anyway, there is a place like the rocks underneath, etc. I visited this 30 years ago, and and it was full of stuff. So maybe, Elizabeth, maybe you can ask if we can do an event over there. Because, and another question, is it safe to go to these places on the rocks and stuff like that? I mean, you're like, what, 10 people together?
Yeah, generally. Oh yeah, right. I mean, I'm sure there's riprap that's kind of like, no, but in that case, yeah, it was fine.
You have to jump.
Yeah, so we can take a look at who owns that property.
Yeah, there's nobody there during the day. We were there in the morning on a Saturday. There was nobody there but us, but you have to jump over a fence or climb over a fence to get onto the rock. So that makes it a little challenging. And if you can't climb the fence and you want to join and help, you can help us count the garbage. That's what Anne joined us, and she helped us count like go through the bags.
Oh, great.
Count the garbage.
Excellent. So thanks. Is there anybody here from NYCHA committee to do that update? Susan? No? Okay. All right. Well, we won't get that update this time. I think there were some things happening. Okay. So there were a couple things I know from last month. There was the People's Swamp survey. I sent that around, and if you didn't get a chance to take it, I can actually, let me see if I can put it in the chat right now if you want to take that, because Transform Don't Trash wants to make sure that folks are being heard, basically, and that so we'll see how that goes. Anything else? Are there any other announcements? I still keep the Master Composter certificate course information on there, but if anybody has any other information.
Oh, Rhonda, you skipped the legislative committee.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay, please. Sorry, Uli. You've been so busy too. And thank you so much for all your writing and amazing stuff that you've put out to vote on, testimony and letters. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Please.
No, that's okay. It's okay. I'll go quickly because I think you're all pretty familiar with what we've been up to. We did present the CWZ testimony, the commercial waste zone testimony last month. And we also sent that compost support letter off to folks at Save Our Compost, so that should get distributed. You all saw those 2 letters drafted to the governor and other folks in support of the Better Bottle Bill and the Packaging Reuse and Reduction Infrastructure Act. Did I get the R's mixed up?
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Yeah. Packaging Reduction Recycling Infrastructure Act.
Oops. Yeah, I don't know why I threw some other R's in there. Yeah, so that was strongly borrowing from previous statements that Rhonda and Matt had made in Albany at a hearing. So you all voted on that and it passed as well. And that should go out in the next day or so. I know they have a hearing tomorrow. So good timing to send it out soon. And yeah, our regular, we will also be attending the next budget hearing. So some of the folks presented testimony during the last budget hearing, and then hopefully some of the other folks who weren't able to present the testimony will present those pieces this time, but we'll resubmit all the things that we talked about in the last budget hearing. And then yeah, come to our next monthly meeting, which will be the last Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. It's also on the BkSWAB calendar, so you can always put it in your own calendar there, or yeah, just every month at 6 p.m. last Thursday. Any questions?
Thank you, and thank you so much for all the writing and teamwork that goes on. excellent.
It's a great team.
Yeah, it really is. And anything else? Are there any other announcements? Michael.
I just had a question I was just wondering if anyone had experience with bringing reusable containers to sports venues in New York City.
Oh, right. Because that passed, right?
Yeah, I think that's been the law in the city for quite some time, but I understand that it is a new state law.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't brought my own reusable, but I did go to like a hockey game and they had like aluminum cups or whatever, stainless steel cups. And I thought that was really cool.
Oh, that's great.
Are you talking about bringing your own or finding reusable?
Bringing your own.
Oh, yeah, I think you can always bring your own places if it's empty. That's the thing. So I don't know if the law changes that or the bill. I think you can always empty a container and bring it in with you.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yay.
Anybody else?
Any?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with anything else?
Oh, I mean, I guess I could do an announcement about the Clean Bushwick Initiative, a group that I help run in Bushwick. We're partnering with the New York City Department of Environmental Protection on a rain garden cleanup this Saturday, which is a really great opportunity to learn more about rain gardens, and then also an opportunity to adopt a rain garden if you have one in your neighborhood. They're always looking for people to steward those. Yeah, so come on out. I'll send the info so you can go in the meeting minutes.
I didn't realize that just somebody could do it. I thought a business had to do it or an organization or something. That's
No, yeah, the individual can do it, and there are different like tiers, so you can just be like cleaning it, or you can be cleaning it and weeding, and they'll even give you tools if they have the budget for it. So yeah, check it out.
That's excellent. Okay, great. Mary, it's looking forward to hearing more about it. Okay, and Sandy's suggesting Lobby Day in Albany on Wednesday. Anything else, anybody? Okay. Well, I think we can close this meeting. Thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for all the voting all week and even in this meeting. And we'll see you next month with a brand new show.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody.